Hi, good morning. Uh, I'll try and keep this short. You would have all had a fairly long night yesterday, so we'll just try and keep this. So the opportunity is the billion-dollar opportunity in India on gaming, and I have certain ideas with regards to what the opportunity in India, and I'll try and keep that. We'll try and share that with you. Over the next 20 minutes, who we are, what's the digital ecosystem in India, uh, the overall growth drivers, who the Indian consumer is and what is being targeted to them, and where does the future of gaming lie in India and what that interns for all of us today. So where does India stand? A little about the company, which is South Asia's largest digital entertainment company. We go across to about 150 odd partners across media companies, telcos, and distribution aggregators across the world. And we distribute content and services, including gaming, across mobile, internet, and IPTV VOD services globally. So principally what's happened in India, infrastructure is the story, and we believe infrastructure is going to be driving all of this ecosystem. India, from a 2G to 4G, we've gone in 12 months. 3G happened to us 7-8 months back, and that was followed by the 4G LTE rollouts in India. To just give you a little bit of statistics, India trailed 2G, which was the mobile ecosystem, by about 3 years. We were 9 years behind on the 3G bandwagon, and now we're with the world on the 4G LTE rollout. What does the Indian market today have with regards to what the opportunity is on the overall ecosystem? India is already the second largest market in the world, and we fundamentally believe broadband has still not come to India. Okay. So the story is that with 110 million internet users already there, and there are 100% of that and even more on the mobile internet space, the India overall infrastructure and connectivity story is starting to come alive. And this is principally being fueled both through wireless internet and now with fixed and broadband going into homes, and the government committing to driving this. Government estimates over 500 million plus internet users out of India. So if you were to look at China 4 years back, India is actually on the same cusp when it comes to infrastructure growth, and the fact that we believe internet is going to be a far, far greater hockey stick story than even mobility in India as a play. Connectivities continue to be a challenge. We have a fairly vibrant cable business, which is the entire direct-to-home business. India is already sitting at 58 million DTH connections, and India has announced on the regular cable the digitization of the overall cable industry. We have over 170 million cable households, and as digitization happens, all of these guys are actually building infrastructure which is on optic, on fiber, and will be able to carry the return path. Net IP as a form factor will start delivering content rather than old copper fibers, which is driven only linear television. And that we fundamentally believe is going to lead to a lot of interactivity, and gaming is going to drive that, because linear consumption is something that India's had for the last 35, 40 years. It's now that these cable homes will be able to create interactivity through the interactive box that's going to be coming into their homes. And this is a government diktat. By June, the 4 big metros, which with a combined population of over 70 million consumers, will need to digitize because they have no choice. So what is the mobile market in India? We are sitting with over 900 million consumers, growing at approximately about 10 to 12 million consumers on a monthly basis, growing 10 million plus. Tele-density still continues to be low. We're now going into markets where their toothbrush hasn't gone in, and this is totally rural in that sense. We're going into villages which are less than 5,000, 10,000 plus population villages. And actually it is the mobile ecosystem that's driving and fueling growth in all spaces within that ecosystem. India will be about 1.2 billion mobile users by end of 2013, leading to, obviously, one of the cheapest markets in the world for voice and telephony. Music, because it's currently been a 2.5G market, music has been one of the biggest form factors for value-added services consumption. That's also because our entire entertainment business is music is a derivative of our larger movies business, and that drives a whole host of consumption across the overall paradigm of entertainment in India. Video, we believe, will be driven by the 3G, 4G rollout, where there's better infrastructure, better experience. We will see this happen. In terms of the overall entertainment industry, India is a very, very vibrant entertainment industry. We have, apart from the main language that we have another 7 regional languages, and content's made in all 7 languages, and all of this content is then brought in, and digital has become one of the key drivers for consumption of this content. Produce over 1,000 films. We do upwards of $750 million ticketed transactions on movies on a yearly basis. And to just share a little bit of statistics, India, the South Asian population out of the UK, from an overall base is about 7 to 8%, but 16% of gross entertainment receipts out of the UK alone is driven by Bollywood as a core content driver. And in turn, today there are over 47 odd countries where Indian content is watched, dubbed, and now gets distributed in those key markets. So where does gaming lie in this overall content ecosystem? We believe gaming has great relevancy to the content that's made. If you were to look at the basic graph, India produces a whole host of content around this space, which is fairly interactive, the entire arcade, animation, fiction space. And then there is a lot of work that happens around more on the comedy and musical space. And today gaming is following the same trend. So if there is a film that's coming out, there are derivatives of that film that gets created in gaming assets, and these assets are made available both across internet and mobile in terms of distribution. The next one, which released last year in December, had 7 platforms that gaming was made into, including services like voice, services like the entire mobile gaming service, as well as creating gaming across social as well as the internet. In terms of the overall industry that's growing from an entertainment perspective, we had a 17% year-on-year growth. Music, gaming, video are the core drivers, and 60% of VAS revenue today, value-added services in the mobile ecosystem, is driven by these key assets. The Indian government out there is trying to also contribute to the ecosystem. There is a very, very clear mandate out there from the Indian government where they are cross-subsidizing both connectivity as well as getting kids to get into digital in the form of tablets being cross-subsidized and provided over there. And what tends to happen post-education being consumed on these digital devices, we also see a lot of entertainment getting consumed. So if you were to look at the entire gaming, music, video space with these devices going out there in the market, there is an inherent demand that's going to get created because these tablets, these devices will be out there with the population, with the Indian population. And in terms of pricing, I mean, there is a tablet called Akash, which the government has launched, which is a sub $35 device. And it is now being bundled in with education being provided to kids of low classes, where these devices are being given by the government out to them to come into schools and use that to learn. We fundamentally believe gaming is going to not only stay but flourish in the Indian opportunity. We are all aware of what the hardcore gamer is and what the casual gaming gamer is, and we believe the casual gaming space in India is actually where there is going to be serious amount of inflection and consumption, because most of the people coming onto the internet today will be first-time users. They will come in and consume entertainment, and gaming is going to be one important facet of that. And casual gaming in that sense goes out there and makes the consumer more comfortable, because both in terms of ease of play, in terms of the amount of time spent, all of that augurs well for the casual gaming opportunity. We have actually just two kinds of consumption. There is cricket and there is Bollywood, but there is hope out there, and we are seeing now a lot of other forms of content starting to get consumed. There is soccer, there is the entire live action space, and then sports like F1 and hockey are starting to get created. So this year, for Olympics, as an example, there is a lot of gaming that is coming up into the mobile ecosystem, which are other than the cricketing as a sport. And we are also trying to leverage some of these national, international events where there is content being created for topical consumption. So what is the India story? Like in the case of connectivity, where India has gone from 3G to 4G in 12 months, we fundamentally believe that India has already skipped the console generation. India actually doesn't have a fairly large console ecosystem, and that leads again into the casual gaming space as well as gaming that's going to be in the premium downloadable space. So all going back into internet as a core driver of gaming for both consumption, the hardcore gaming consumption as well as the casual gaming consumption. From a mobile ecosystem perspective, today, so this year India will ship out about 200 million devices. These will be a mix of features, smart feature as well as smartphones. If you were to look at the overall smartphone percentages, we believe that this year India will ship about 25 million smartphones, of which 80% are going to be Android. The remaining 15 will be BlackBerry, and the remaining 5% will be iOS and the entire Windows piece and all of that. But the larger bulk of this continues to be feature, which is principally driven out of China, where J2ME is the core OS, and there are their local incumbent platforms like the sub $50 devices have incumbent chipsets which are called MREs, which has certain sets of code that can be written over C++ or on J2ME, and those are games that can be ported for consumption. There is a very, very large consumer base out there. India's going to be moving close to about 17, 18 million devices on a monthly basis. And that opportunity in terms of getting embedded within the device ecosystem and reaching the end customer makes for a very, very interesting story in India. The other thing which is very interesting is that apart from mobile internet and data as a form factor, which is actually required for gaming, India has actually gone out and created what we call the voice gaming ecosystem. Now, with 900 million people out there and a very large majority of these guys not understanding how to read and write, but they understand how to speak and how to dial a number, because that's something that they are able to relate with. We've gone back, and companies like ours have gone back and started creating gaming which is actually on voice. So you would actually dial a number, and a call would happen, and you'd get introduced to this gameplay. And then you would need to take steps to play the game and get a chance to, again, be a part of gratification which happens with a movie, or it could be you playing what we call as book cricket, where there is gratification on a weekly, monthly basis that's getting created. There are leaderboards that get created over here, so you can call and you can dial in and listen who's first and who's last. So all of that is fueling growth. Now, something like this over a two-week period in the Indian ecosystem, from an end user price perspective, you could be taking for the operator may be taking as much as $150,000 home for a 2-week initiative. So all of this is where there is a lot of innovation that's happening. And because there's just so many people out there on mobile becomes the core driver for consumption. And that's also linked to the fact that the telco ecosystem in India is extremely potent. Please don't make any plans if the telco ecosystem is not part of your overall structure and plan in terms of driving that value, because it is their micropayment wallet which creates for an ecosystem for all of us to participate. Obviously, the percentages and business models have been extremely challenging in India because of thin margins, but we believe that's going to start changing because they are also looking at larger participation, and they know if they need to get larger companies to come in India and build the overall ecosystem, they will need to part with higher revenues out there. Brands are participating. India is a very, very large brand story. India and Brazil are the only stories on television where there's been very, very large ad-supported form factors. And we believe advertising from a ad-supported sponsorship perspective will fuel gaming as well. Just wrapping up, young population, 60% less than 25 years, rising disposable income, increasing wireless connectivity, proliferation of developers and publishers, and opportunities being created out there. And the fact is, India's gaming business is growing at compound rates of 30 to 35%. What do you need to look at? Look for a right partner. Do not underestimate the telecom ecosystem. The advertising margins are very, very low. Yields are not there. You may come in and you may falter because you may go out and create traffic, but you'll not be able to monetize that traffic. That's the reason why the telecom ecosystem is extremely potent and extremely important to be part of the business plan in India. Access to consumers across 3 screens, localization of content and IP will really drive consumption. The beauty about gaming is that actually the localization has to be very, very limited, and you can still get away with it because gaming is, in my mind, ubiquitous from a gameplay perspective. Work for hire does not work anymore. Welcome to India. Any questions?
Yeah, can you say a bit about IP protection, how it compares with, say, the lack of it in China, protection for people who have original content, bringing it into India, and also those that build it and
Okay.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, great.
Could you say something about IP protection in India, compare it perhaps to China, and especially for inbound IP, say from other countries, and IP you create around, say, Bollywood or cricket, and what kind of protection you enjoy when you take it abroad?
The Indian entertainment IP protection is extremely, extremely strong because that actually fuels our entire entertainment in India. The operators work with us extensively to ensure that original IP owners are able to port content. We've had this huge problem about 3-4 years back, which happened in music, where there was a lot of remixed music available post those IPs going through the 25-40 year cycle where this content got open into the larger ecosystem. Both the telecom companies as well as content owners got together and came down heavily on this. So it's only the original content owner who's allowed to publish. There are processes out there. You cannot walk into a telecom network and say, hey, look, listen, I've got this Bollywood game, now take it live. He's going to start with first asking you, where's your contract? Where is the required paper to show you are the core licensee of the IP for the game that you've gone out and built? So there are a lot of checks and balances. Having said that, copyrights is a challenge. We continue to work with the government. The government over the last 12 weeks has been extremely receptive. We've just rolled out a revised copyright amendment bill in India, which actually got passed by the parliament day before yesterday. So there is a lot of work that's happening. We have over the last 12 weeks blocked over 150 odd P2P as well as torrents out of India because there is this genuine aggression from the government to go after digital IP today. If you were to talk about IP in the physical form, that continues to be a challenge in India. And that is, I think, the challenge in China as well. When you were to look, that copyright piracy is very, very different towards vis-a-vis the digital piracy. And digital is still more controllable in the overall subset.
So you mentioned that the featured phone market is still pretty strong in India. Do you see that going on a pretty steady decline in favor of more smartphones, or how do you see that coming about in the next few years?
I believe that the the feature phone story, India still has about 3 to 5 years left in that, and there is enough juice to be taken out today. And there are companies sitting out here which come from India. We actually drive our business still through feature. We may have the smartphone ecosystem, but is there revenue out there? If it is operator driven, there is revenue out there because I can create event based and create premium downloads charging the customer wallet. The problem continues to be on the smartphone ecosystem is with 900 million people on the phone, we only have 15 million credit cards. So the credit card story is history. Okay. Unless India doesn't go out and create a separate trust wallet, and that becomes the paradigm of usage, there is a serious challenge in any form of in-app purchase using the credit card or the internet ecosystem from a payment perspective. As you put telecom out there, his wallet and his trust with the customer becomes of great value to all of us, because I can use that wallet to bill the customer, and the customer, both prepaid and postpaid, and the customer is just fine with that because it's just a single click to charge to getting his content. And that value, in my mind, even in the smartphone ecosystem, has to become relevant, or we're going to all end up creating 99% ad supported content, and having no yields in India will just put great pressure in trying to build that business model. Having said that, Android is the story in India because of its open source and the fact the Indian brands are driving Android as a smartphone OS. That is actually the story in India in terms of devices. Great. Any other? Thank you.